You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Cabral Concept. We are getting started with part 2 of our Cabral HouseCalls. Hopefully, you get to tune in each and every weekend as we answer our Cabral community questions. And yesterday we went through a ton of questions, a lot of childhood questions. We went through eczema, psoriasis, we went through contact dermatitis, a lot of skin issues. We went through asthma in children. We went through pregnancy-based detox question. What else did we go through? We went through distension. We went through traveler's diarrhea and acid reflux. So a lot of great questions from yesterday. Somewhere about 8 questions answered. I hope to be able to get right around the same today. If you aren't familiar with the Cabral House Calls, each weekend, Saturday and Sundays, we answer all the questions that come in over the past couple months. We answer them in the order they've come in. So, for example, we left off on November 17th yesterday, and we'll be picking up on that same date today, and we're just going to be moving through. So today's date of this podcast, I believe, is, I'm recording this 2 days in advance, February 10th. And February 10th, yes, February 10th. You know, if we're answering them from the 17th, what are we? Well, we're about 10 weeks or so, 11 weeks behind. But again, we're answering them just in the order they come in. If you're looking for pretty close to same-day answers to your questions, head on over to cabralsupportgroup.com, join the group, ask some questions, and we would be happy to have you there as part of our community, right? While you're there, lend some support for others as well. All right, Lauren's up first. So let's answer Lauren's question coming in November 17th. Hi, Stephen. Thank you for providing such information and inspirational content in your podcast. Every episode is different, and I've learned so much from listening to your podcast over the past year. I've been suffering with lower back pain for a couple of years, and I've been to numerous experts, but no one can figure out what is causing the constant pain. 21, fit, healthy, don't want to be suffering in pain for the rest of my life. Slightly dehydrated disc and bulging disc in the lower part of my spine. The bulging disc is very minor and doesn't seem to be impinging any nerves. My back lacks natural curvature of the spine. Thus, I apparently have something called flat back syndrome. Is there any way to restore this naturally to get my spinal curvature back? Absolutely. So, you know, flat back syndrome is just another conventional medicine term. So it's like one of those things. Whenever someone gives you that, just, okay, you go into your doctor's office, you tell them you have stomach issues, bloating, gas, sometimes constipation, sometimes loose stool. They send you to a specialist, and the specialist tells you, okay, well, I'm diagnosing you with IBS. And you say, okay, good, I have a diagnosis. All right. So what do I do? Well, they just gave me some medication. You go home and you look up IBS, and you're like, oh, it's irritable bowel syndrome. And you say, did I really need to go to specialists for them to tell me my bowels were irritable? Like, that does not make any sense. Same thing with flat back syndrome. Here's the thing. If you go to a really good chiropractor that doesn't just do adjustments, but they do active release technique, that they're doing Graston, that they're doing Egoscue, that they're doing like so many other things that works on normal postural analysis and alignment, that they're going to be able to help you. A lot of time with this lower back pain, we've got a couple things. One is this. So many people have tight hamstrings and tight psoas muscles, and if you've never heard that before, well, then we need to work on that. That throws off the curvature of the spine. Because believe it or not, some of the muscles in the front of your body, such as your psoas, connect up towards the bottom of the thoracic vertebrae and the lower lumbar spine. So we need to correct those because it will throw off your curvature. The other part is your hamstrings. If your hamstrings are super tight, you're going to be pulled into a flat back syndrome, right? And the reason is that you're going to be pulled into what's called a posterior pelvic tilt. So what we need to do is just get you to a really good muscular therapist and someone that also does PT, not like a traditional physical therapist. The reason is that you can't just stretch and massage and foam roll these things out. You need to correct them with strength balancing as well. The other thing is sometimes that's overlooked with lower back pain is simply inflammation and stress that goes to their lower back. So if you're inflamed and you're stressed, we need to figure out why that is. Because if we don't correct that, then your inflammation, again, that could be your Achilles heel, will go right to your lower back. My Achilles heel for sure is my sinuses, back of my throat, right? That's the first sign, like, oh, I'm getting run down, I'm getting whatever, stressed, didn't get enough sleep. For you, it could be your lower back. And the last part is just make sure you're not constipated. Too many people have an impacted transverse colon, which runs along your lower back, that could be affecting your back as well. All right, that was pretty in-depth. Hopefully that helps. Chloe's up next. Dear Dr. Cabral, I wondered if you had an opinion on psychedelics in the treatment of mental and any other illnesses. Thank you for all you do. Chloe, I'm certainly not against psychedelics, and that might seem strange to a lot of people. But, if there's great research on how, I don't know if we would consider THC in cannabis to be a psychedelic, but for those people who have a lot of pain and they're going through cancer-based treatment, well, then if they use some cannabis, who am I to say don't do it, right? I just know that for the most part, CBD oil, which is non-psychedelic or psychoactive, works just as well in most cases. Does increase appetite like THC will, though. But also, there's some promising research using psilocybin and using psilocybin with depression. And specifically, and I know the term is sometimes used, sometimes not, but manic-based depression. And sometimes just one larger dose of psilocybin can help for up to 6 months. So I think we need certainly more research on this, but why would we exclude some of these things, especially if they come from plants? I just think that to help people, we should be integrative. We should look at everything. But again, like if you want my honest opinion, Chloe, you can do those things and I'm not against them. However, what do we do? At what point do we not use those anymore? I don't want you to rely on psychedelics like a drug, like a pharmaceutical drug, which a lot of people do. So let's figure out what's going on with the gut-brain axis. Let's figure out mineral balances. Let's figure out shortages on magnesium, on vitamin B6, on B12. Let's figure out if you have a zinc-based deficiency, right? So all of these things can help with mental health. So I hope that at least got you started, because it wasn't a specific question, but I think actually it was specific enough, so I appreciate you asking that. Karen's up next. Hi, Dr. Brawl. Could you please do a full show on menopause and or what to do if your estrogen levels are too low per conventional doctor's opinion? Yeah, that's a great question. And Karen, we actually followed that up, which I believe will help you. Go to stephencabral.com/podcasts and type in seed cycling, all right? Seed, SEED, and then just cycling, CYCLING, and you'll find out how you can actually start to, I know that this isn't going to work as well post-menopause because it's meant to help restart and rebalance a normal cycle with estrogen, progesterone. However, all 4 of those seeds can be used on a daily basis for women in a smoothie. And so you can grind those up as well. But yes, I will do a show for sure on menopause and post-menopause because I've obviously done a lot of shows on imbalanced estrogen levels. Oh, check out another show. It's called How to Fix Your Female Hormones. And again, you can find these at stephencabral.com/podcasts. Okay, great question. Let's now move on to Imran. IMRAN. Again, apologies if it is the improper pronunciation. I think you know by now on my Cabral House Calls that English is maybe a second language to me. So, hi, Dr. Cabral. I know you've spoken about during your childhood you were put on medicine that made your conditions worse. My niece was just diagnosed with infantile spasms, and the treatment is ACTH, a hormone with more side effects than it seems to be worth it. My inquiry is if you have any experience with infants, she's 7 months old, and if you have any experience with this. Really great question. We'll make sure to delete your last name out of this. And yes, so right. I mean, my test to find out if I had Addison's was an ACTH stim test that put the ACTH, adrenocorticotropin hormone, that's what ACTH stands for anybody that would like to look it up. And it's what the hypothalamus is telling the pituitary gland to do to then tell the adrenal medulla to produce something called catecholamines. And then the next reaction, because it goes through a second cycle, is to produce something called cortisol or glucocorticoids. We've gone over that many, many times. This is something where you have to work with a great local practitioner, someone that's skilled in functional medicine, that can look in depth with your blood work and all of your labs. And the reason that I say this is that there's a reason why. I mean, I would love to know why. I would love to know, I just want to make sure. You have to rule out like the biomechanical issues, and it's so rare. But you just want to make sure that there's not a pituitary impingement, a pituitary tumor, or anything that could be blunting the ACTH stimulation. Because this is rare, right? So we want to look at that. But here's the deal. It may have nothing to do with this, ACTH, but they just don't know why that your niece is being diagnosed with spasms, and they're just trying to stimulate adrenal production, right? So my best guess, just reading this question, is it has nothing to do with the adrenals in the brain and everything to do with either heavy metals, gut dysfunction, virus, lack of any calming magnesium or neurotransmitter. And first off, I would be using CBD oil, right? I mean, check out the research on CBD oil and epilepsy, CBD oil and infantile spasms. Check out the research. It's remarkable. And again, you can read, I did 3 podcasts on this. So just go to stephencabral.com/CBD-store, CBD-store. The reason why it's not in Equilibrium Nutrition right now, hopefully we'll allow it to in the future, we were actually shut down for 5 months. Not a lot of people know this. We offer, hands down, the highest quality CBD oil in the world, right? You can try to find something equal to, but it can't be better. It's full spectrum. It's below 0.03 THC, okay? Or 0.3 THC, apologies. It's full spectrum, which means you get all the cannabinoids. So check that out. Start around 10, 20 milligrams, and you can work your way up, especially when she's having spasms, and then maintain with it. I mean, again, I can't treat, I can't diagnose, I can't cure. Not my job, right? My job is to give you the education, and then you can make the best decision for you. All right. Jessica's up next, but Imran, for sure, I hope you find your answer, and I know you can figure this out. All right? Jessica's up next. Hi, Dr. Ball. I would like to know your opinion on 2 things, please. Colonics. I know you recommend coffee enemas, but I've never really heard you talk about gravity colonics. If you recommend them, how often do you think they should be done? Okay, let's start with just this first. I actually have talked about colonics before. Go to stephencabral.com/podcast and type in colonic, COLONIC. So check that out. I studied with a really great bioregulatory and Ayurvedic practitioner in the Netherlands, and a practitioner there who had done well over 10,000 colonics using gravity-based colonics. And the results that they were getting were fantastic. So what do I recommend? Well, for those people with a lot of bacterial overgrowth in the colon, or potential parasites, or a lot of mucus, or whatever it might be, they could do a series of colonics, anywhere between 3 and 6. Now, there's a lot of people who kind of like are against this. Honestly, there's a lot of people with misshaped colons. And it's called colon hydrotherapy. It's not just about cleaning the colon. It's about reshaping it as well, giving it tone. So I'm not against it, okay? I'm not against it. Do I believe it's for everyone? No. I think you have to be more careful if you have ulcerative colitis, if you have Crohn's, if you have diverticulitis. You have to be much more careful, right? What I would say is this. We don't typically recommend them, but we will use them with people on a parasite protocol if they choose to do it, or someone that just has a lot of overgrowth, just during the cleaning-based process. But then after that in life, I actually don't necessarily recommend maintaining with them. And the reason I don't is because I want the gut flora, which is the microbiome and bacteria, to then become rebalanced and not to wash that out, okay? So coffee enemas are completely different, and I did a podcast on that, so just go to stephencabral.com/podcasts and type in coffee enema, and you'll get my thoughts on that. So, Jessica, hopefully that helps, and I believe a series of at least 2 to 3 is going to help the most with the hydrotherapy, with the toning. Question number 2, MSM, organic sulfur crystals. I read this is good for the joints. Do you agree? Thoughts, please. Yeah, so I'm not against MSM at all. And we actually, we are not against that. We're fans of it. We'll use it in combination, not by itself, but we're going to use it in combination with chondroitin sulfate, another sulfur, right? And we're going to use it in conjunction with glucosamine. So really love formulas that combine MSM, chondroitin, glucosamine, and I believe that's really nice for detoxifying the joints because MSM is a sulfur-based compound, which helps with that. So same with if you have a sulfate in there. And then also helps with hydration. A lot of people don't know about that. But you have this coating around the ends of your joints. Think about, let's take your knee joint. Okay. So as your femur, which is the top of that thigh, there's only one bone in that thigh of your thighs, right? So it's your femur. At the head of that, at the end of that, you have a coating. It's almost like a plastic. It's called lenticular cartilage. Well, what some of these products do, one of the reasons why they can work well, it takes about 4 to 6 weeks, though, to actually get the results, is they add hydration to that tissue. So that's phenomenal as well. So yes, not against that, and I hope that helps answer your question, Jessica. Zach's up next. Do lemons and limes pose a threat to our enamel? Even apple cider vinegar has extreme acidity, if not diluted, and can erode away enamel. Just wondering about ways to mitigate this issue. Lots of info out there, and while I would love good digestive health, I would also love to smile and still have all my teeth. Zach, great question. And I know, I've done a lot of podcasts, right? Today is episode 1101. So I would love everybody to go back and listen to all the shows because they are all a little different and they all do kind of build around different types of information. I have answered this a couple times. I'm happy to answer it again. So yes, lemons and limes, especially lemons more than limes, are a little bit more acidic, okay? This goes for most citrus fruits. And for sure, apple cider vinegar, any vinegar, right? It's one of the ways that they work well. It's one of the ways why they help with digestion. One of the ways why it's good to add with a little bit of hot water, warm water at a meal. So here's the thing, though. You can do a couple things. I drink mine, so I do my daily fruit and vegetable blend. Okay, it's super easy to do. One serving of that. I squeeze in. I'll do lemon or lime, to be honest with you. It's like whatever I have in my house. If they don't have organic limes that week, then I do lemons. I like limes. I prefer limes, so I do that if they have them. If not, I do a lemon. And then what I do, because there's so many great minerals in lemons, it's great for a person yesterday asked about how to soften the bile in their liver. Lemon, right? So lemon will help with that. Same with apple cider vinegar. So I forgot to add that for that person. That's why you want to tune in daily. There's always more tips. All right, Zach, let's get right to it. What can you do? Well, one, you can do what I do. You drink it before you brush your teeth in the morning. So I drink my lime daily fruit and vegetable blend, a little pinch of sea salt in there, and then I go and brush my teeth. Super easy, right? Okay. What else could you do if you are drinking it during the day? You can drink it through a straw. So you can drink that through a bamboo straw, one of the plant-based straws that I recommend on a Friday review. You can drink it through a copper straw if you would like. You can drink it through a glass straw. My wife actually uses a glass straw. I don't trust myself with a glass straw, to be honest, which is why I don't drink through a glass straw. I'm actually a proponent of the plant-based straws. I don't know. I know that I could just reuse a bamboo one. For me, I don't want any extra bacteria. It's hard to clean the inside of a straw. I use compostable vegetable cellulose-based straws, and I've talked about that before on a previous podcast. And then sometimes I don't use a straw at all. So again, if for this, for example, I don't use a straw, but maybe Zach wants to, that's okay. So we're going to do whatever is best for that person. So when you drink through a straw, then it's not going to touch your teeth. You can make that happen, especially if you put your tongue over the top of the back teeth. Okay. If you really don't, that doesn't work, here's the other thing you can do. Take a little bit of baking soda in your mouth after you drink this, swish it around, that realkalizes the mouth, and then you can just spit out the water and baking soda, or even just a little bit of sea salt and water after you drink this. That'll realkalize the mouth, and you're good. Okay, it's all about the alkaline and acid balance. Let's see. Kirsten is up next. Hello, I would love to hear your thoughts on shift workers. Obviously, we all know it's bad for your health, but would love some tips and tricks around meal timing, sleep, and recovering from night shifts. Also, maybe some supplementation that could support our bodies while on the night shift. I'm a paramedic from Australia. Love my job. Also currently doing your IHP course, which I'm loving. Thank you. My shifts are as follows, if you want to use it as a template. She works from 7 in the morning until 1900 hours. That's 7 at night. I know my military time here in the U.S. And then it's 7:30 a.m. until 5:30 p.m. And then you do an afternoon shift from noon until midnight. And then you have a night shift from, you're making it really hard on my math here. You are doing 7 p.m. to 7 in the morning. Okay. So then 4 days off. So here's the problem. Yours isn't just a night shift. Yours is a complete dysfunction of the diphasic rhythm. So your body doesn't know when to sleep and when it doesn't. It would actually be better if your body knew, okay, I work from 7 at night to 7 in the morning. But sometimes you work the morning, sometimes you work at night. Hopefully with some seniority, you'll be able to get one normal shift so that your body knows when to produce melatonin or when to produce cortisol. However, if you're getting home at 7 in the morning, the sun's coming up, you're not going to produce melatonin naturally. So you would have to do is create an artificial rhythm, which means you're going to use blackout shades, close your door, create a pitch black environment, and you're going to use our deep sleep protocol. Magnesium, liquid melatonin, which won't make you groggy, and then the deep sleep support, okay? So that's what I recommend. And then when you wake up, you might actually have to use a product initially called Adrenal Energy Support. That will then wake the adrenals back up. So this is what you do to reset a circadian rhythm. So for example, when I travel to California, which I have to do quite often actually, at least 3 times to 4 times a year, and I'm Boston-based. It's across the coast. There's a 3-hour time difference. What do? Well, when I get over there, I take a flight, and it's going to be 3 hours behind. Let's say it's 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. I'm going to bed typically at 10 o'clock. Okay, well, it's 7 o'clock over there. That'd be like, okay, I'm just finishing dinner. But what I try to do is stay as close to schedule as possible, but I'll bring my deep sleep protocol, and I'll bring my adrenal energy support to wake me back up. But again, it's not really a challenge for me to wake up, since I would be waking up. I typically wake up at 5:30, so over there, it would be 8:30 in the morning, right? So it's easy for me to wake up, so it's not as much of a challenge. Not an easy answer, Kirsten. However, hopefully what I just gave you will help. All right, we still have plenty of time. This is great. Got a lot of questions done. Chris is up next. Let's see what Chris is asking. I just heard you in a podcast recently, and I was totally blown away. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. I'm a 39-year-old male who works in the entertainment industry in LA for several years. Going back to school to shift my attention and focus to a newly acquired passion of dietetics and wellness from a plant-based perspective. All the things you articulate incredibly well, like hormone optimization and diet, are right up my alley. I also live in Massachusetts, the South Shore, and would love to meet you and pick your brain and possibly set up a consultation regarding my hormone levels as well. I'm sure you are terribly busy, and as we approach the holiday season, even more so. Just wanted to say hi and tell you your existence and overall mission is truly inspiring to me, and the fact that you live here in Boston is such a pleasant surprise. Happy holidays to you, and stay safe. I hope to hear from you down the road. Best, Chris. Chris, thank you so much for writing in. That's great that we have another Boston local chiming in. So, couple things, Chris. So, one is, even though my practice is basically 90% virtual, 95% virtual, I still see, so for example, 2 days ago, that was Wednesday. I'm recording this on Friday for the Sunday show because the weekends are family time. So I saw 12 people that day. That was a lot of people. I usually don't see more than 8 people in a day, but these were shorter follow-up appointments. So I still see some people in practice. But again, so the reason I mentioned that is that I actually only saw 2 people out of the 12 in practice. So just, again, it's mainly virtual. But again, I would be happy to meet with you in Boston, of course. So let's see, though, if I can get you some answers. I'll tell you right now, of course, I'm biased, right? I wrote all of it. But if you like what we're doing, if you like what you hear in the podcast, what I would like to do is just invite you to check out the material at integrativehealthpractitioner.org, level 1 and level 2. I really think that this will be right up your alley. And the reason I feel that way is that it talks about diet, it talks about exercise, but it talks about it from an integrative perspective. So always happy to see if this might be a good connection for you. But just let me know. We're happy to help in any way, and I really do appreciate you writing in. Stephanie is up next. Stephanie with an F. Hi, Dr. Cabral. My father-in-law has ataxia, and his mother had it before him, as well as his cousin. Clearly runs the family. He's having a difficult time walking. He recently was diagnosed with osteoarthritis in both knees and has even torn his meniscus and had surgery on one knee. Let's see. We believe he will be wheelchair-bound soon, which just breaks my heart as he's only 63. What recommendations could you offer for someone in an unfortunate situation? Thank you for your time. Stephanie, I would love to be able to just try to give you that silver bullet, right? Like give you that one recommendation, the one food, the one supplement, the one, meditation trick, like whatever it is, but I don't know what that is because this has to be based on what is going on at an underlying root cause level. And I don't want this to be a cop-out, but what I want to say is this. Can't give you the reason until I know what it is, and I need some data on that. So I can't recommend enough running the Big Five, of course, if you can run the Big Five. But if not, let me give you an order of importance for me. Okay, order of importance, organic acids test, hair tissue mineral analysis. That's our starter kit. After that would be the thyroid adrenal hormone, or even just the adrenal hormone. After that, the omega-3, and after that, the food sensitivity test. All right? That is in order of importance, and then we'd be happy to help you out. You wrote in on November 21st, and again, everybody, I know that Chris, you wrote in before the holidays. I wish I saw these sooner, but the truth is that my schedule is insane, like completely insane. Every minute of every day is booked. All right, let's keep it at that for today. Really appreciate all of your questions that have come in, and honestly, just really just grateful. Feel blessed for this community that we have. I hope that you join us each and every day and see what's happening over at CabralSupportGroup.com. And, if we can help over there, we're happy to help. And just again, thank you so much. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for our Motivation and Mindset Monday. Take care, everyone. Did you know that the body really only becomes sick or imbalanced in only two ways? Over time, you become deficient in vital nutrients, and you also accumulate toxins internally and from the environment. As those nutrients diminish and you increase your total toxic load, your body then begins to show the first signs of dis-ease. It's actually quite predictable, and the good news is that if we know how you began to fill up that proverbial rain barrel, we also know how to empty it to begin the healing process. I was fortunate enough to learn this ancient healing process from my mentor after suffering from debilitating diseases for close to a decade. It was only when I began to implement these techniques did I finally overcome my illnesses and go on to live a life of energy and vitality that I now enjoy. I'd like to share with you now what I discovered after traveling all over the world and how to combine the best of ancient healing wisdom with state-of-the-art science. Allow me to teach you exactly how I've been able to help over 250,000 people to empty their rain barrel and begin to transform their body and lives into what they've always hoped they could be. To get your copy of the international bestseller, The Rain Barrel Effect, simply go to stephencabral.com/rainbarrel.